Hello, we are live. I'm so excited to be with everyone today. My name is Laura Scarlett, and I'm going to be talking about how you can use LinkedIn for your B2B sales and personal brand. I'm going to explain why your personal brand is the secret sauce to a long and fruitful career because guess what? You're probably not going to stay in the same company, job, or even startup for your whole career. I can say that with 99.9% certainty. So, what does last, what is enduring, is your personal brand. And I believe that LinkedIn is a platform. And I'm going to say why LinkedIn is the one. So, with LinkedIn, as opposed to other platforms, let's say Instagram, you would have you could follow someone else. That doesn't mean they follow you back, and that doesn't mean that they care about the business you're doing. It's also much harder to find your target market on those other platforms because, for instance, with LinkedIn, you could search it up. I'm looking for property owners or business owners or people with the title CEO or director. However, that's not really possible on any other platform. So let's get into it. I'm going to talk about A, how to make sure your profile is optimized, B, how to start leveraging all those different features on there to properly present yourself to your target market, and C, how to start automating messages to your target market, how to expand your base so that you're not just putting content out into the void and not getting any likes or traction, and it just feels like a waste of time. So you need a solid base of connections as a start, and you need a great sort of storefront window, if you will, for people to look at. So these are the things I'm going to talk about, and I'm really excited to share everything about it. I'm going to start off by saying how I personally figured this out. So I started off as an entrepreneur when I was 20 years old in the mortgage industry. So think about the challenges there. I'm a woman of color, I'm 20 years old, and I'm asking 50 plus people to trust me with their $1 million mortgage. Would you trust your 20-year-old daughter with your $1 million mortgage? Maybe not. So I thought, gee, like, what am I going to do about this? I need to establish myself as someone that's credible in my expertise. And I trucked along. I was very spongy. I learned everything I could, and I did a great job. I earned six figures in my first couple of years and opened my own brokerage when I was in year 3 or 4. And from there, at age 24, I got a little burnt out because I just felt like I just jumped into something, like I was just selling money for the sake of selling money. And I was really grappling with some existential and angst there. So I decided to go to university to study cognitive science and psychology at the University of Toronto downtown. So with that, I gained a lot of insights about thinking and reasoning and influence and why people trust you and how to be resilient. And I learned about not just how to get people from a state of drowning to treading water, which is much of psychological science, but more interestingly, how people went from surviving to thriving. So that's the zone I want to play in. That's what I realized. I didn't want to go and be a psych counselor. I wanted to work with people that were looking to become their best self. And of course, I myself was looking for that as well, to gain the tools I needed to be my best self and to have a rich and fulfilled life of happiness and purpose. So something that stuck out at me is that there was a formula for people that were highly successful and people in the highest positions in the world, whether they're savants, industry leaders, inventors, etc. And if we take Edison, for example, with the light bulb, he had an unshakable belief that what he wanted to do was possible. And even though it had never been done before, he also made consistent steps towards that goal over time. Just those two things. He had his lab burned down. He did over 200 experiments, which were no easy feat. And he actually pulled it off despite everything. And in fact, it helped when his lab burned down because that brought some clarity too. He was able to kind of throw out all of his old ideas with that very unceremoniously. So I thought, okay, how can I apply this to what I'm doing now, which is maybe going back into the mortgage and finance industry? although I realized that I was more of a visionary entrepreneur and leader than a broker. So I had figured that much out, but I knew that I would still have a challenge of having myself seen as an expert in the area. And of course, it's a sales driven business. If you don't actually learn to get clients, you will not be a busy broker. If you want to get fed clients, you need to work in the bank. But I'm very much team entrepreneur, team self-employed. So I am really always looking at ways to how can I sell better. So I thought, okay, I can take this formula and I can apply it to LinkedIn. And at the time, this is around 2008. So LinkedIn just started and I was like, okay, let's start working away. I had like 1,000 or so then. And then when I came to this like aha moment in 2014, 2015, I said, I'm going to go hard on LinkedIn. If I believe that I could be a LinkedIn influencer in the finance space, and if I consistently put effort into growing my audience, into producing content that's thoughtful, that I've considered carefully and well researched, and provides value to that audience, then it will naturally follow that I am seen as someone that knows what they're doing and that you would want to work with. I also made a point of direct messaging people that could be great people to connect with and to work with. So in so doing, I was able to grow my LinkedIn following to today it stands at over 31,000 connections. And I did the bulk of that with elbow grease. That's right. Just literally doing it all the time. They say that your attention is where you are. You are where your attention is. And that was very much the case. I was that LinkedIn influencer because I was giving my attention to it 100%. So, how can you now take this information and use it? Well, I really default to the know, like, and trust formula, which is the most fundamental formula in B2B marketing. The basic premise is people have to know you exist, you or your product exists. They don't see your name. If you're not connected to them, how could they possibly buy from you? And then through repeated exposure, when you're constantly posting and sharing something about yourself, sharing something about what you know, sharing how you can help them with their problems, they have a chance to like you. Only once you've gone through those two steps can they be someone that has got trust in you. You need to earn their trust. And only when you have done that, they will buy from you. Of course, the other two steps are repeat business and asking for that repeat business and referrals. But those are the basic steps. So how do we kind of translate that to LinkedIn? Well, to know you means to build your network up to that 30,000 plus point. There is no reason not to. Okay. I think a lot of people think you need to have like a personal relationship with someone before you connect with them on LinkedIn. But the fact is, if you really just have a few people that are really into what you're doing and like it's not about them knowing you already, it's about them being a fit for your future. So if I am a award-winning broker, I'm looking to connect with real estate agents and lenders and lawyers and people that would make good referral partners, then I would want to connect with those people in my industry because when I start talking about things that are mortgage related, they give a shit. Versus if I were adding anyone, fashion designers and artists and all this other stuff, yeah, my engagement might be lower because they don't care about it, even though my audience is large. So the point here is to build your network in a targeted way. Give it some initial thought of who your target market is and how you would define them by their job title and geographic location, as well as industry. Because all these things are highly searchable on LinkedIn. You can actually target them right away on LinkedIn. And now, these days, you can automate connecting to them and liking their posts, endorsing their skills, and messaging them. So highly, highly valuable tools. You don't have to do it the way I did it, which is elbow grease. It took hours and hours and hours. It's a new way to do it. So the next thing is the like, right? So that was knowing, just being aware of that, being on people's radar. Next thing is like reciprocal engagement. You can't just work in a vacuum. You can't just post and then leave the platform and expect anyone to care. You need to be out there commenting on other people's posts, liking their posts, engaging with them in a meaningful way. It doesn't need to take all day, but if you just make a point of, like, if you're on the platform anyway, just comment or like on someone's post. It gives you more visibility. If it's an intellectual or thought-provoking comment, that might prompt them to go click on your profile and look a little deeper. So you can also build trust and liking in that way, where if you're really targeted, let's say I really want a partnership with the top realtor in my neighborhood. So let's say that I'm always looking at their LinkedIn, and she posts, and every time she posts, I'm commenting something. And then I slide into her DMs and I say, hey, it's me, Laura. Do you want to grab a coffee and like connect? I think we have a lot to talk about, and we could talk about the market, the local market, or whatever you want, whatever makes sense. And so this is, again, a soft sell. I'm not saying, hey, I'm a broker, you're a realtor, you should use me. I'm not going to make them make that choice. I'm going to just a very easy ask, hey, do you want to connect? Another version of this would be a 15-minute discovery call. So building that engagement and like before you jump in and ask for that discovery call or for that meeting. Lastly is the trust. In those meetings, you would create that cemented B2B partnership, and hopefully you'll act in integrity to keep that going, and it'll be fruitful and expand to further reaches. And you rinse and repeat. It's not that complicated, people. If you're a startup founder and you have a product, then you could say, hey, I'm looking for people to demo my product. Would you be interested? I think the point here is that you should always be providing value to other people. So you can't just expect them to give you likes, comments, views, and business if you're not returning that favor. The clear steps here are, first, that you need to commit to becoming a thought leader, and remembering that any goal is attainable with consistent action over time and the belief that you can. What does being a thought leader look like? It doesn't necessarily mean you have to post every day. It does mean that you can't just use Chat GPT to spit out shit. No one wants that anymore. No one ever asked for that. And there's a lot of garbage content. So if you can at least edit it down or make a statement, have an opinion, stand for something. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anyone. You can't worry about everyone liking you. If you say things that are really mid or uncontroversial, that also will not really yield any results in terms of you being a thought leader. So have opinions. I'm sure you have them. Share those opinions. Take your pick. You could have a newsletter. You could do posts with like an image and a story, written story. You could do video content, whatever you're comfortable with. Obviously, a mix is good. I like to do LinkedIn Lives. They're great. You don't have to prepare for them a ton. And you can also highlight other industry folks and use that as a platform. So another major thing is, once you are seen as a thought leader, you are now a high value person to know. You can wield your network to help other people. You're going to get invited to conferences. You may even be asked to speak at conferences. And I know for a lot of you, that is very much something that is appealing. And I know I love nothing more than getting paid to speak. That's kind of the best gig out there. So commit to becoming a thought leader, commit to building an authentic personal brand, and telling people a little bit about who you are. Not just the highlight reels. I'm talking about the lowlights too. People love a good comeback story. And honestly, if anyone has ever seen a post that's shown vulnerability, have you ever really thought, wow, that person's really weak? No, you thought that they were courageous. Okay, so people will view you in a similar manner. It doesn't hurt to show some vulnerability. People want to work with real people that are resilient, that have gone through things that they can relate to and empathize with. So if you're identified your target market properly, ideally you would tell stories of transformation that reflect their challenges. So in the case of me being a marketer, for instance, I might talk about small business owners and how when I was a small business owner, I didn't know how to reach my target market. My business was 1 month away from failing, and I decided to do some radical action by staying up all night and sending 100 LinkedIn messages. And after that, I got 7 calls, and the next day it changed everything. And I learned that you're really just one day away from turning everything around. So that's like a nice, that didn't happen, but it's a nice idea of a story that you could share that, you know, another small business owner who would be my client could relate to and could be inspired by and feel like they could trust me for doing that. Yeah. Ooh, I got a good comment here. I attended a PR event this week and the message was clear: authenticity plus credibility equals talkability, which stands for ACT. That's wonderful. Thank you, Winta. That's really awesome advice. Next, you want to leverage AI to build your network. You don't have to do it like I did. You can just plunk everyone that's a target into the AI system. It will add them and like them and endorse their skills and message them directly. If you're doing it properly, it shouldn't look automated. It shouldn't look like a robot. And ideally, you wouldn't be spamming anyone. So there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. I think we've all had that, like, you know, facepalm moment where you open your LinkedIn message bot and it's just lead bro after lead bro after lead bro, or people trying to hawk their virtual assistants or sales systems or whatever it is on you. But there's a way to do it that is gentle, that adds value, that shows that you thoughtfully curated the message to some degree, and that you're really just looking to add value to them and learn about them. So we'll talk about what that might look like as well. And that leads into you just asking to get on a call, because you can't really sell. Yes, Mary, I'm going to talk about how I'm going to automate it right after. So yeah, you can't really sell anything until you know about them. So when I'm on a sales call, I always start by saying, tell me about yourself and, you know, what you hope to get out of this call, or what you're working on, or what you're excited about lately. So I don't make it like, tell me what your job description is necessarily, but like, what's exciting you right now. And then I would tailor whatever it is that I do to their response. And I'm telling you, if you got off a sales call and you didn't get the response you wanted, you probably weren't listening enough, or you didn't establish trust with them. That's the facts. And that doesn't mean that it's dead. It just means that you need to try harder to earn their trust. So I want to briefly talk about LinkedIn and the actual profile itself. I'm going to change the screen layout for a sec. So here's a profile checklist and just an example of one of the profile makeovers I've done. This is Dill Alvey. He has branded himself as the knee expert or the pain management guy. Dill and I did a deep dive on what he does, who he does it for, how he should brand himself, who his target market is, and everything else. This was his profile when we got started. He had like 0 posts, 0 engagement, only a few followers. And he was the pain management guy. He had like a, you know, casual selfie. He didn't have a verified profile. He called himself the pain management guy, registered acupuncturist, clinical nutritionist, and something practitioner. Now, what people don't realize is this headline is acting like Boolean logic. So for those that don't know Boolean logic, that's how search engines and computer searching works, where it's simply keyword searching. So if I look up knee pain expert, I actually wouldn't find him, because nowhere here does it say or pain in here. If I looked up acupuncturist, that could work. He would show up, but almost nothing else would really lead me to him. Okay, so you want to make sure that your headline is packed with searchable terms and a mix of authority, empathy, and your unique value proposition. I know it sounds loaded, but it's something that we would work on together if you need help with that. You can also leverage AI tools like Perplexity or ChatGPT to help you generate some of these things. So what we came up with was, you know, using a few emoji and establishing him as an expert, which he is with over 25 years experience in chronic knee pain relief, registered acupuncturist, check, kept that one. Separated the other acronym titles, and then explained what he can do for you, which is accelerate healing and mobility with his knee program, and how he differs from the competition, which is no painkillers, injection, or surgery. So there's so much more happening. And this is just top of the line profile stuff. This is before you even scrolled down and looked at his experience or about section. And guess what? People judge you mostly on this top half. So I'm calling you out if you're someone that doesn't have a banner image, or you haven't really thought about what's going to be on that banner image. If you have a dark selfie profile photo, work on those things. You know, Canva is out there. It's pretty easily done. It wouldn't take you super long. But something I like to do is I have my profile on a poppier background. I'm just going to exit out of this for a sec and show you a little bit about what a more souped up profile would be. So in my case, I have so much going on. I do venture capital and fundraising consulting. I'm a venture partner in several startups. I do speaking and sales consulting and all these things, fractional CMO. So I just have it as my name. It is what it is. I'm Laura Scarlett. I'm kind of brilliant. I do all kinds of things. Next is, you can see that I'm verified, check. I used an emoji at the end of my name. That's a personal choice. Biggest thing here, look at how my profile picture pops. Like if you were just scrolling people and looking to add someone to your network here, let's just say you were doing that. Let's just say I was judging people based on this profile photo and what they have here. And that's what's going to make me decide whether to accept or not. Think about that. That's all you have. You have your profile picture and this first byline and your name. What are people going to think based on that? So it's a loaded question, but I did a few little tweaks to Dill that made a huge difference. For one thing, he went by Dill Shad before. And I said, do people call you Dill? And he's like, yeah, people call me Dill. And I say, okay, why don't we just call you Dill? It makes you more relatable to more people. That's all. And then, of course, the headline part. So really, really focusing on making sure that headshot is strong, it's focused on your face, got good lighting, and you can put it on a background that pops, even better, okay? Next up, your about section. People really are probably going to read the first 3 lines of it, so make sure those 3 lines are solid. It should not read like a CV, for God's sakes. Not a CV. People are human. You want to lead with the strongest things about you, okay? So I'm leading with my awards and my stats. That's what I'm leading with. And if you go down a little further, you can see I have delineated some different things that I do. I has my voice, which is a little more fun. I like emojis. And I even included a fun fact that I do stand-up comedy and I co-produce a sketch troupe. So I have a full personality. Another major feature is this featured section. So things that you're proud of, things that you want to be known for, use those high-performing posts or whatever they are, like posts that got a lot of views or likes, posts that mean something to you, posts that show off or exemplify your product. That's going to be the important stuff. That activity stuff's a given. The last thing is experience. So some people have like no icons because it's not connected to their company pages. So you want to make sure that for every experience section, there's a corresponding company page. And if you can't do that, consider maybe deleting it or merging it with another piece of experience. This is your section. You can choose to leave out employers. You can choose to, you know, if you're self-employed, extend that further to fill in any gaps. I'm being very candid here. I'm just talking about basic PR stuff, right? Like you need to be your own PR agent and do what's in your own best interest. So you can see I have quite a few pieces of experience here. And some things like I merged, right? Like with Matrix Mortgage, I think I bounced around to a couple brokerages in between, but I was mostly with Matrix. So I just got rid of that. It looks much stronger to have loyalty to one brand than to several within a certain industry. Okay. So that's the main stuff on the profile section, being, you know, the above the fold stuff up here, your about section, your experience section, your education section. Make sure to get that in there. All your good degrees, put them in. I have most of a master's, so I have postgraduate there at Liverpool. And then your licenses and certifications, your skills, recommendations, of course. You can ask people for recommendations by clicking this plus button and ask or give a recommendation. A good way to get is to give. So you can go ahead and give people recommendations and then say, hey, do you mind doing the same thing for me? Law of reciprocity. Can't say enough about it. Publications. Have you been quoted in an article? Have you written your own article? Were you a keynote speaker somewhere? Put that stuff in publications. Let people link to it. When it shows that I have 56 publications, I think that kind of qualifies me as a thought leader. So if anyone's been quoted before in an article, throw that in there. If you were featured as alumni of the week or whatever it is, throw it in there. Honors and awards, get those in there. Even if it was an internal corporate award, it matters. Organizations, all that stuff. So if you're like, hey, I don't have these, where am I seeing these? Sometimes you have to go to add profile section here, and that's where you would add those things. Okay. It might be under additional, like languages, patents, causes, things like that. Recommended, that's your licenses, projects, courses, etc. So just go to the add profile section spot. Another main thing is this call to action button. You can have it say whatever you want. Mine says book an appointment and then goes to my calendar page. Okay. Yours might want to say something else like check out my product demo or look at my YouTube sales pitch or whatever it is, right? Visit my website. It could say whatever you want. So you choose the verbiage and then the link that it goes to. Book an appointment is solid though. All right, that's the main thing for profiles. So I just wanted to be thorough there. And as well, fix up your company pages so that there's just something to look at there and it looks as good as your main profile page. So now I'm going to get into the good stuff, the stuff that many of you came here for, which is how do I automate this stuff? And that's huge, right? Like, yeah, I want you to automate that. You shouldn't have to grind like I did. So let's talk about how do we automate some of this stuff. So we start with finding your target market. You first have to think, okay, who's my target market? What am I doing here? So let's say maybe someone in the comment section wants to give me an example of who their target market is. I know I help a lot of startup founders find investors or users for their platform. So what I could potentially do is just say, okay, let's say you're fundraising and you're looking for investors, or let's say you are you're in the financial services and you're looking for people that are lawyers or whatever it is, right? So let's go ahead and I'll use an example, just plucking it from my head, looking for investors. So what I would do is go to my network and then connections. Over here, you want to search with filters and then go to all filters. So the key here is you can message people that you're already connected with and do a campaign that way. But I'm going to talk more about building the network. Okay, so that's going to be adding people. So if you're adding new connections, those are called second connections, meaning they're friends of friends, basically. So you're not allowed to add people that are third connections. You need to have that initial first connection. What I'm saying is this is very much a game of exponential returns. If I have 31,000 connections, I can connect with basically anyone on LinkedIn practically at that point because so many people in my network are a friend of a friend. Like I have a massive 7 degrees of separation type of network. But when you're only at 300 or 400 people that you're connected to, these numbers are going to seem initially smaller. So don't be weirded out if you're like, hey, why are only 100 people showing up under my search? It's fine. Start with whatever you're starting with. Build from there. You can just rinse and repeat, okay? So second connections, let's say I'm looking for United States venture capital investors. So I'm going to hit United States there. And then I'm going to go, I'm going to skip industry and go right down here to title. That's the money spot, okay? So I'm going to go for title. I'm going to look up venture capital and see what comes up. So there's 87 results for people that had venture capital in their title in the United States. It seems that many of them are indeed investors, although maybe not all of them are active. That's something to find out later. But what I'll do is I'm going to take this search of 87 people, and now I'm going to show you how to automate it, okay? So if anyone would like, they can follow along with me, okay? So I'm going to post this here in LinkedIn. This is a tool I use is Dripify. Use that link. It'll give you a 7-day free trial. So there's absolutely no risk here in following along and doing this. I'm going to post it here for the YouTube audience as well. So go to that link, set up, and you can look at this later if you need help. So the next thing you're going to do is go to Dripify. No, sorry, I have to re-copy and paste this search. Cool. So I'm going to go to Dripify. And here is where you do the everything, right? I'll start with what you would actually see when you get in, which is your dashboard. So on Dripify, you could see your active campaigns, how many you've sent, and how many responded. So like, for instance, I'm going to Vancouver. I want to connect with people in Vancouver. So I'm going to look at this and say, okay, what's my acceptance rate? Blue, so loud. Please stop. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to look at some of these stats. You can see I did some outreach. There was 598 leads, and I got 107 responses from this 600 person pool, which is pretty damn good for an automated message, okay? So what I'm going to do, I have a US VC campaign already, and I'm going to add these leads to it. So what you do is campaigns, and then go to add leads. And you hit basic LinkedIn search and go next. Then you just copy and paste that in, just like that, okay? And you go next. I'm going to call these Venture Capital USA 1. Create list. Awesome. So now what's going to happen is these leads are going to go through the sequence. And if you want to see the sequence, I can show you that. Here's a sequence. So what you do is you set up a sequence where you send an invite, and then an hour later it likes a post, and then an hour after they've accepted that invite, it endorses a skill. You can see I'm really leveraging that law of reciprocity here, warming them up. And so in all these cases, people are seeing me pop up in their notifications saying, Laura Scarlett liked your post. Laura Scarlett endorsed your skill. That sounds great, right? So from there, then they get a message. P.S. If you got this message, don't be mad at me that I've configured this. So it says hi, first name. So again, it's using these things to automate the, the context and the specificity for it. And this is my intro message. Hi, first name, appreciate the connection, used an emoji. I explained what the deal is. I'm asking for advice, basically, and asked if they're open to discussing their investment interests. Now, there's a lot of points on the messaging here that I could get into, such as the fact that I told them a bit. I just got to the point, right? I wasn't being mysterious. I put myself in a position where I was asking for advice. There's a great saying, if you're looking for money, ask for advice. If you ask for advice, you might get money, right? Wait, sorry. The deal is, if you're looking for money, ask for advice. If you're looking for advice, ask for money. So most times when you have your head, you're like, hey, can I get money? They're like, no, but what I suggest you do is talk to this person and go there or do this, right? So you really just want to get someone talking about themselves and position them as an expert that you're excited to talk to. And you really should be curious about this. And this should really come from the heart, because I really am interested in learning more and about them. And having that curiosity will take you very far. So instead of saying, hey, I'm hot shit, I'm from Canada, and I can send you startups from Canada to help with your venture portfolio, I actually don't think that that would have done as well. Instead, I should understand what they're looking for before recommending any startups for their portfolio. So that's why I've gone with this type of messaging. I can show examples of other campaigns. For instance, brokerage on LinkedIn. So I was soliciting mortgage brokers, because I was in the mortgage industry, for to see if they would be interested in my help with marketing. So it was already people in my networks. These were not second connections. So it started with just endorsing a skill, liking a post, and then I sent a message here that said, hey, I bet you can't wait for the boom. After 17 years in the industry, I'm helping brokers to supercharge their LinkedIn. Let's talk. Here's my calendar invite. With this extremely direct approach, I illustrated two things. One of them, I'm one of you guys, except for not anymore. So I understand your target market, but I'm not a threat. The second thing is I showed my expertise, 17 years in the industry, more like 18 actually, and saying that, look, hey, I'm giving you hope. The last year has been a rough one for brokers, but I want you to be ready for the next boom. So let's work together so you can be well positioned for the great surge that's coming up. Let's talk. And I have my calendar invite right in here, so there's no back and forth required. Is this a bit direct? Yes. Would I have gone this way if I didn't already have them in my network? No. But these are going to people that already know me. We've already been connected, and I'm very well established in the mortgage industry. So I kind of had a little more cojones when going after that particular client. You're going to have to use your judgment. And of course, this is something that I talk about at length with my clients to help them decide the right messaging for their target audience. This is also something that is fluid. I will often go in and tweak the messaging and change it and add more leads to the funnel and things like that. The great thing with Dripify is you can have numerous campaigns going at once as well if you wanted to try a bit of market segmentation. Great. So that is the essence of Dripify. You're leaving money on the table if you're not using it. I highly recommend using it. Someone like me is a bit better at leveraging it because I have the sales background and the experience with it. I've been using it solidly for 3 to 4 years, and I honestly can't afford not to at this point. So let's now talk about content. Obviously, it doesn't work to have a page that's got all these followers, but all you're doing is commenting on other people's posts. So some ideas for content that are really evergreen is sharing your personal journey and story. So if it's Mother's Day, you could talk about your personal purpose, that you want to help mothers to be financially free, and you learned so much from your mother who taught you the value of independence, right? And that's just a random example that came to mind. But something like that is great because it's heartwarming, it's touching, it's real, but it still relates to your greater purpose of gaining more clients in your financial advisory that are women. So that all fits in nicely. So it's about strategically using these stories, using these personal journey type of things to relate better to your target market. Of course, you can talk about the problem you solve from the perspective of your target market. People are more attuned to their problems than to what's going well. So if someone's struggling with, oh my God, my stocks are going down, or oh my God, my mortgage is coming up for renewal, or I'm going to get hit with a huge penalty, or whatever it is that you help them solve, talk about those problems. Talk about them all the time, and make sure to end that with, here's one of my possible solutions for you. Here's a resource that can help. Come to my webinar next week and I'll show you how to solve it. Have those call to actions. You obviously don't want to leave people in a state of being like sad and hopeless. So ideally come to the table with solutions and with ideas as well. You can amplify your target market voices, of course. You don't have to post every day. It's absolutely acceptable to repost and to highlight other people. Again, law of reciprocity. Show other people love. Highlight your clients that are kicking ass. Highlight a really viral post that you thought was sweet or funny or valuable. That's called curating, and that plays all day. So on the days where you don't want to have to think and post, you can just repost something else. Sometimes they get a lot of traction. So what I really want to leave you with is the fact that you can absolutely be an industry heavyweight and attract your ideal clients on autopilot through LinkedIn. I also want to mention that I did not need LinkedIn Premium for any of this stuff. It's just me being very smart and targeted with the marketing and who I'm adding, as well as using the Dripify to automate this. If you are in a place where you're like, I'm sorry, Laura, I can't afford your services. I can't afford $80 a month for Dripify, you can still do this through Elbow Grease. Nothing stops you from going into LinkedIn, going to My Network, search with filters, all filters, second, whatever it is. Let's say we're looking for lawyer. There's all these lawyers, and clicking connect. You can do that up to 120 per week. Yeah, that's right. You can grow your connections 120 per week. So there's nothing stopping you from getting to that 30,000 point. It is a two-way street. This isn't Instagram or TikTok. You can absolutely get to that 30,000 point if you're consciously growing your network. Okay. So I'm really happy you came out, and I hope that you'll take advantage of this, regardless of whether you work with me or not. This is a tool that you can take to the bank for the rest of your life. Okay. This LinkedIn network will help you for the rest of your life. I've definitely changed a number of lives by coaching clients throughout their journeys. I've helped Sue Chambers. She's an excellent person in the financial services, and she's getting 3 to 5 appointments a week with the messaging that we put together. She has a beautiful profile page. You can check it out for yourself. Lisa Annabelle, she has a sustainability consulting company, and her B2B sales strategy was absolutely transformed. Before, she was not really getting a lot of traction and having some difficulty in terms of direction for marketing. Obviously, if your zone of genius is something like consulting or solving a problem or being a lawyer or whatever you are, how could you also expect to be a marketer? That's not fair to expect you to be all of these things. So really, it helps to have a coach to help you say, okay, are you focusing on the right target market? Are you building your network? Are you reaching out to them? Are you hosting events where you have a reason to sort of bring people in that isn't directly, hey, buy for me, but adding value to them? And then Dill, I showed you his work a little bit more, but he is really happy with how he's showing up. All of his friends came out of the woodwork and said, oh my God, your LinkedIn page looks so good. By the way, my grandmother needs some knee rehab, or I have a bum knee. Can you help me out? Like, it's really, really obvious where he is helpful now. So I think that clarity goes such a long way, and anyone here would really benefit from just sitting down and doing that exercise. I'm also happy to do like a 15-minute intro call with you if you wanted to just like ask me some questions, have me look at you and your profile and give you a little bit of cursory direction. I'd welcome you to just hit that book a appointment button on my profile. You can do that. I welcome a discovery call with absolutely anyone. Love to help. And if you wanted to work with me on a deeper level, I have a package for $14.97 to fire up your sales pipeline and stand out on LinkedIn so that you can benefit from the network in a full and cohesive way. You could have people asking you for discovery calls, and you could be growing your pipeline in a consistent way that doesn't require you just begging for their email, right? Like think about how much your email list would grow on a normal circumstance. One other Dripify feature I failed to mention was this section called leads. So anytime that someone goes through this sequence, I've had over 18,000 people called leads that have gone through sequences over the years. Guess what I can do? I can export that whole freaking CSV list and put them in my email campaigns. Do you know how much you'd have to pay for each individual lead on SEO to just give you their email? Yeah, you're talking $100, $200 per lead at least. So this is extremely high value. Like I said, you basically can't afford not to do it. Everyone here should just grab that free trial and try it out. There's no harm in trying. The worst case scenario is someone ignores your message, honestly. That's the worst that could happen. And I think it's not really a downside at all. Like you can't lose, okay? So in my program for $14.97, I do a head-to-toe revamp of both your LinkedIn page and of your company page, which you almost certainly have. I do a whole fresh branding perspective, new taglines, new headlines, new explainer paragraph, about section copy. You can use this copy on anything, on your website, on your landing pages, on absolutely anything. It plays all day. You can use it in your pitch decks, whatever you need. I also help you create 4 pieces of guaranteed high-performing content, plus do a LinkedIn live webinar with you just like this. So you get exposure to a wider audience, and I would interview you with some strategic questions that really highlight your expertise and why you are unmistakably the best person to work with in your industry. Lastly, I help with the career coaching side. So I find that in the brainstorming session that we start out with, which takes about 2 to 3 hours to really get to the depth of like everything that you are and do, I can help you gain clarity on how to best move forward with a strategy for your business. Like maybe you're juggling a few different plates and a few different products. So we would help you to clarify like what those products are, how to move forward, how to sell those things, and help you with your whole sales funnel. Lastly, the Dripify part. So we would help put that together and monitor it, making sure that those messages are coming in clearly. And we can do that on an ongoing basis as well. Yeah. So, oh yeah, Dripify is $60 USD, I think, for the starter plan. So that's the price of that, if anyone was wondering. That's it. That's all. I wanted to keep this short and sweet so that you guys can just get the maximum value for the least amount of time. To answer your question, Liam, yes, I am recording this, and you can catch the recording on YouTube after. I will also send it out to my email list if they would like to take a look at it as well. And like I said, please do reach out. I'd love to have a conversation with each and every one of you if you wanted my opinion on how your branding looks so far and what you could do to improve your profile. Okay, so please reach out to me, Laura at rocketfuelcmo.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, of course. And I wish the very, very best for each and every one of you. Thank you so much for coming.